Hello everyone, I decided to do a threshold damage test. I will use pentalaser repeaters size 3 with an alpha damage of 43.7 and Omnisky 9 laser cannon size 3 with an alpha damage of 218.7. Targets Warden with an energy threshold value of 62 and Perseus with an energy threshold value of 106. This basically means that pentalaser repeaters should not be able to damage Warden and Perseus, but Omnisky 9 cannons should. Spoiler, you can still hurt and destroy those ships with pentalaser repeaters. Let's get started! Target is a Warden with 77 physical and 62 energy threshold. I'm using now two size 3 pentalaser repeaters with an alpha damage of 43.7. Okay, I'm doing shield damage obviously. Energy guns are only damaging ships after shields are down. So let's deactivate shields. And shields are down. Yeah, nothing on the hull is flashing. Nothing. Conversion distance is to 50 meters. ESP is off. Still, shots are flying all over the ship. Not sure why. Yeah, nothing is flashing. Maybe I can destroy the turret. Turrets are not supposed to be armored, which I find a very strange decision. Especially with big turrets like on Perseus. Okay, conversion distance is 50 meters. Still, I'm hitting all over the place. Yeah, but you can see, turret is red, flashing. Maybe I will only use one gun. Yeah, you can see turret is flashing red. This means turret takes damage. Of course, this takes a while. With only one size 3 pentalaser repeater. Oh, and now the damage of the turret bleeds over to the rest of the ship. Now the whole center is flashing. Yeah, this is bad. The turrets are not armored is bad, and that the damage is bleeding to the rest of the ship is not fantastic, CIG. If I, for example, aim here, nothing is flashing, because alpha damage of pentalaser repeaters is way too low for Warden's energy threshold. But if I aim at the turret, the damage is bleeding through the rest of the ship. Look, whole center is flashing. Even though Warden is supposed to immune to pentalaser repeaters. Now center is red. Not fantastic. CIG, you need to armor turrets too, and damage should not bleed to the rest of the ship. Destroyed? I destroyed a Warden even though pentalaser repeaters are not supposed to do this. Another Warden, this time I'm using two size 3 Omnisky laser cannons. Okay, I'm doing shield damage obviously. Let's deactivate shields. Okay, shields are down and I see flashes all over the ship. Because Omnisky have more than enough threshold damage for 62. Yeah, no matter where I'm aiming, I see red flashes. Left side is red, center is flashing. Perseus with an energy threshold of 106. I'm using again two size 3 pentalaser repeaters. Okay, I'm doing shield damage, obviously. Let's deactivate shields. And nothing is flashing. I'm doing no damage. Which of course makes sense because penta-laser repeaters have an alpha damage of only 43.7. Yeah, no matter where I'm aiming, no damage. What about the turret? And again, ESP is off. My conversion distance is 50 meters, but this doesn't look like it. Okay, I'm still doing damage to the turret. Turret is flashing. Of course, this is not very quick, but this should not be possible. The turret should be armored. Okay, this conversion is really bad. I will again deactivate one gun. Yeah, you can see turret is red flashing. Now this will take a while, but I think it's important to see if the damage is bleeding through other parts of the ship. Not yet. I don't know why CRG thinks it's fine that turrets are not armored, especially big turrets like on Perseus. Now turret is red, we are doing damage to this turret. Doesn't look like damage is bleeding through other parts of the ship, but maybe I have to shoot more. But I think I will stop here now. This should not be possible, CRG. Big turrets need to be armored. Actually, I think all turrets should have the same armor as the ship. Otherwise, they would be a huge weak spot. And you can see visible damage. With a gun that is not supposed to hurt a Perseus. Okay, now the damage is bleeding through. Look, the whole front is flashing. Perseus is supposed to be immune to penta-laser repeaters. Yeah, whole front is flashing because I'm hitting the turret. Turret is not armored and the damage is bleeding through the rest of the ship. CRG, you really need to address this. I switched to Size 3 on these G9 cannons, and no matter where I'm aiming, I see flashes everywhere, because Omnisky cannons have enough alpha damage. Yeah, no surprise here. Let's take a look at the data. And here we have our result. Warden and Perseus, as expected, were immune to penta-laser repeaters unless I was hitting the turret. Yeah, I could easily destroy a Warden that way. Because turrets are not armored and the damage of turrets is bleeding through the rest of the ship. Omnis G9 cannons have more than enough alpha damage to damage a Warden and Perseus no matter where I was hitting. I didn't have to aim at the turret. This is a 4.7 PTU build. This might not go to life like this, and there will be lots of changes in the many years to come. Many Size 1, 2 and 3 guns can still damage and destroy big ships like Perseus. This means the light fighter meta is not over. But light fighters have to decide what weapons to use. With threshold damage, penta-laser repeaters are good at fighting other light fighters, but not anymore at fighting bigger and big ships. Yeah, unless you are hitting the turrets, which is not always that easy in a battle. We can still damage and destroy ships with threshold values above the alpha damage of a weapon if we aim at turrets. Damage bleeds through the turret to the rest of the ship. This is really bad. CRG needs to fix this as soon as possible. Maelstrom will fix this, but Maelstrom was supposed to get released in 4.0, and if you ask me, it's still years away. I like the idea of destroying defenses like turrets and point defense cannons first before going in for the kill. We did this back in Wing Commander 3, for example with Kilrathi corvettes. We didn't do this because it was convenient, but because those turrets really hurt. Turrets in Star Citizen should hurt too, but CRG made turret gameplay worse and worse over the years. Right now it's still almost impossible to hit a fast and agile fighter. Turrets need to be armored too, especially big turrets like on Perseus. Battleship turrets were armored for a reason. It is an alpha, we know, however we are in year 14. I like the idea of threshold damage, but once again this is another lowest possible effort. Implementation is very crude at best. I'm open for suggestions what to test next. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen.
They're the same picture.
You and I have unfinished business.
Hey, you're still here. You might want to join me on Twitter or on Blue Sky.